Number one is awareness. You have to be self-aware enough to know. You have to go, you know what I need right now is a rainstorm and a book and nothing else. And
Mm-hmm.
I need a coffee and a whatever. I like you need to know those things. If I'm going through a super like rough patch or something's off or I need like we're if it's gone this far, like it's really bad. I will literally go drive around with the windows down, listening to music that I grew up on. That
Yeah.
is my reset because I did that as a kid,
Oh,
and it takes me back to that,
yeah.
and it gives me a reset. That was I grew up in a really small town, so we didn't have jack to do. But if I could go ride around with my friends and listen to music, I was freaking living my best life.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words. I'm so excited that you're here. Say More Words is a podcast created for you to listen to the stories, have the ideas, get the personal ahas of personal development. In this universe, we tell our stories as a means to create a path for others so that they don't have to struggle the way that we did. This space is fun, it's happy, and sometimes it's hard, but the stories are important. I'm so happy that you're here. On today's episode, you're going to get the opportunity to hear some old content, some video content, some content that was created in the past, what I hope you enjoy. Hello, 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 sweet, beautiful humans. How are you? It's Monday, so it is time for, this might hurt a little bit. Lacey is currently in Scotland. So I have a special guest. Just waiting for said special guest to jump on so I can add them in. How's everyone's week going? Life has, I think, finally settled down from Maycember and all of the craziness, except for here in the state of Texas. We are inundated right now with nothing but storms. Sorry, I'm going to keep touching my eyes because my eyes are watering because the storms are bringing our allergies back for whatever reason. So I hope wherever you are staying safe. I'm going to jump on here. Just waiting for my special guest to arrive. Today we're going to be talking about the anatomy of pause. Ooh, it's so good. It's so juicy and so very important when it comes to personal development. It's one of those things that I think a lot of people ignore pretty regularly. And so we are going to have that conversation. Why this is important, you have to understand and you have to know what your body and your mind and your spirit requires for rest. Okay. There are different personality types that require more rest. There are different personality types that don't require as much rest. You still require rest. Right? You still require rest, whether you only require a little bit or a lot of it, but it's important to understand what it is, what helps your brain and your body function. Oftentimes, I find people, when they get into a space of needing rest and aren't doing anything about it, these are the things that happen, right? So I talked about, you keep mysteriously getting sick out of nowhere. I've seen it where people will manifest their car breaking down in order to get rest. There's a lot of narrative that exists that you have to work even through your sickness. Like, you better be on death's doorway to stop working, when in actuality, if you would just give yourself the time, right? Give yourself a moment to pause, you would be more successful. And I keep saying pause instead of stopping or resting or taking a break. You hear that term a lot, like, oh, they're taking a break. You have to understand that breaks are just pauses. They're not hard stops. It's not something that is going to derail you, but not pausing will. A pause will not derail you, but not pausing will. And so what I was talking about before is that a lot of people will just like plow through it because they can rest when they're dead, or they can rest on that vacation in 6 years, or they'll work towards their rest, when in actuality a pause or a rest in your day is so very important, because in your day, in your week, in your life, because it gives you an appropriate foundation in which to succeed from. I was talking about how a lot of entrepreneurs and business people, career, anybody nowadays, I feel like it's everybody right now, are working so hard or work to earn their rest, when in actuality, giving yourself rest and a pause creates more abundance for success.
What's
Hey,
good in the hood?
all the things. Sorry, I had a call with a potential patient, and it always, of course, goes longer.
You're good. You're good. We have to
Golly.
we have to
Yeah,
honor our people.
I'm gonna have to move my stuff so my lighting looks
Yeah, you're
better. God,
gonna have to talk to Sarah. Sarah's gonna hook you up with some good lighting after this.
you mean this?
Yeah. Why is it not working?
That's a great question. Here, watch this. I'll turn this. What I'll do
Oh,
is
yep.
I'll turn off the crappy lighting. I'll
And then
try
the good
this.
lighting can
Maybe
do
this
its
will.
job.
There we go.
There it is.
There we go.
There
That's better.
it is. Okay, so I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Brandon Brown, the migraine doc, onto the show. Super excited to have you here. I've just started kind of rambling and talking about, so I've named this episode The Anatomy of a Pause. Actually, wait, let me just
Mm.
pause before I start asking you questions. Would you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I will do my best to try to be able to help. I am not even close to any sort of replacement for Lacey. So I know you guys hopped on here excited to
Yeah.
see her. Unfortunately, she's not here, but it's going to be okay. I'll do the best that I can.
You're going to do great.
Um, so I'm Dr. Brandon Brown, also known as the Migraine Doc here on Instagram and TikTok. I jokingly call myself your mom's favorite chiropractor. That's just, I tend to see a lot of moms.
Yeah.
So it tends to be the way that it goes. I'm also here in Dallas, Texas. So I'm in like a little suburb called Richardson, Texas. I've got a clinic over here. We've been working here for like 8 years now, a little bit longer than that, I think. Dr. Sarah Zwink, who some of you may know, I know you
Yeah.
know, she works with me here. So, yeah, we just have an awesome clinic over here trying to help change some people's lives. And this will be the third live that I've done today. So, Mondays is Migraine Mondays. It's also Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. So, I did a live on TikTok for like 45 minutes to an hour. And then I saw that you were going to be solo, and I was like, hey, do you want someone to join you? Because why not? And
Right.
so now this will be my third show of the day.
I love it. I love it. Giving the people all the information. Here we go.
I'm just here to help and talk a lot.
Well, you know what? Same. And I love that about us. One of the
So
things
were
I,
you a kid? Were you a kid growing up that it was like you were the one that was talking too much in class?
yes.
Oh, my people, my
Yeah.
people.
And it didn't matter. They would like move you around class thinking
Doesn't
like
matter.
I was good.
I'll talk to
No.
everyone.
Yeah. They don't need to be my friend for me to talk to them. Get out of here with that. Talk to the random person I made. Actually, I was just on a flight to Iowa and this random person at the bar started talking to me. She ended up being on my flight and sitting by me. We're best friends now. It
Of
was
course
awesome.
you are.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because why wouldn't you? Um, so I was talking about, how if we don't pause, essentially our bodies are going to make us pause when it comes to working
Mm.
and being entrepreneurs. A lot of times we'll just keep going, 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 and we won't stop because we have to get to the next goal. We have to go get to the next place. And I find in working with entrepreneurs that if they don't, their body will tell them to.
So, and if that's the audience, that's the audience. I think that's applicable to
Everyone.
everyone. I
Yeah.
say this all the time. If you don't stop, your body will eventually make you. There's no way to outrun the need for your body to have rest, to stop. And so, trust me, the last, this year's been fantastic. And so
Yeah.
I feel super blessed. But the last 2 years, I've had so many things where it's like, oh, you're not going to stop. I'm going to have some of the most radical things ever happen to me
Mm.
in order to stop me. Because for me, the thing that fixes my problems is a new thing that I can start to then do and implement and be like, I'm going to start
Yeah.
this. And now that I've got that done and it's barely doing anything, I'm going to start another new thing because I'm just going to new thing myself
Yeah.
because I don't want to focus on any of that other shit or feeling things or resting or diving into any of that because that's not fun. You know what's fun? stressing myself out with something new.
Right? Because it's so fun to have those chemical
Oh,
responses to all of the new things. Yeah,
all the time.
all the time, consistently. So, as a chiropractor and somebody who studied the human body, what would you say are some of the like most frequent signs that you see? I mean, I would think headaches, backaches, things like that, but that you see in overworked people.
Um, so overworked people, I mean, it's of course they're tired because they're not resting. And even when they're resting, they're not getting good rest.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we do that to ourselves. We will make excuses for certain things. We get into routines that don't really help us. We're like, oh, every night I need a nightcap in order to calm things down. Well, when you look into the science of that, your resting heart rate doesn't get as low whenever you've got alcohol in your system.
Mm.
It starts to impact and affect your body. So you're not getting you're telling yourself that's the crutch that I've latched onto in order to help me get good rest. But what we don't have is good systems and processes and disciplines and what it is that we're doing to go, I have a nighttime
Yeah.
routine. I am an adult version of a 2-year-old. Your 2-year-old thrives with a routine. So I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. They thrive on the routine, and so do I. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, I became an adult and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. But then I learned that I tend to fall back and thrive on systems. And what I'll either do is create good ones or typically create bad ones. So we fall into these things, then we stress ourselves out, then we get a lot of exposure to light at night, and then we don't get any exposure to good sunlight during the day. So we're doing all these things to throw off our body's natural rhythms. And then with that, my body can't recover. So then you'll hear all the things: brain fog, my head hurts, my eyes are bothering me, my eye twitches all the time. I get random pains all over my body. My neck is killing me. My shoulders hurt. I carry my stress here. I'm the person
Hmm.
whose shoulders are attached to my ears because I'm stressed and anxious all the time.
Hmm.
And we tend to create all these patterns. And then you're like, it was weird. I never had IBS in my life. And now all of a sudden, as an adult, I can't control myself. And it's like, yeah, because your body's stuck in a constant stress state all the time because it is never having balance between. There's nothing wrong with when we nervous system regulation is so popular on all social media right now.
Hmm.
And your sympathetic side of your nervous system, your fight or flight, gets a bad rap. It's there for a reason. It has a purpose. The problem is we actually can't shift it into the parasympathetic, our rest and digest side enough. And so we get stuck on one side. So if you get stuck in one setting, it would be like having your car with the gas pedal down all the time. And
Hmm.
you put it in park and you're like, well, I can't stop it. So as soon as I put it in drive, this thing is going. That's what your body's doing. And so it creates these perpetual systems. And don't even get me started about how this impacts your sex life, because that's one of Sarah and I's favorite things to talk
Oh yeah.
about, because you need the balance of both. But we'll just take a little blue pill instead, because you know what? That'll help me rather than focusing on what's going on with me that's actually affecting
Positive.
that. But it's fine. We don't have to worry about that.
It's fine. There's not an alarming rate in like 50 to 60-year-olds dying from
Yeah.
heart issues.
And in young kids who should be able to get a freaking erection that can't, and they can't figure out why. And we have all
Really.
these, we'll offer up a Blue Chew or a
Hmm.
whatever. Like, we'll just offer up all these things. There's all these companies sprouting up all over because we have people with nervous system regulation
Hmm.
issues and nobody's really showing them what to do with them. And then we just think, well, I must be missing this or lacking this, or you know what, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to ignore it. And eventually it'll go away or get better, right? Because that's what
Yeah,
everything does. If
absolutely.
I ignore the problems with my car, it eventually just fixes itself.
Interesting. I was actually so it's just funny because I was just thinking about how I was having a conversation with somebody who wants to get out of their corporate career,
Mm.
and they felt like they're just like their lives are on super fast autopilot, and her response was, I don't want to be one of those people that puts in their retirement resignation and dies the next day.
Mm.
And basically, what you just described is everybody, like, that's, like the dream, the corporate dream of,
It's
and
okay
what's
to
really,
ask yourself those questions too. I think people listening should really
yeah,
take that in. That's big.
yeah,
What was that worth if that was what happened?
yeah, what's the point? What is the point?
I mean, I almost died last year, so trust me, I've already had that.
You've
So,
already had that feeling.
hmm
Listen. So what do you do then in your routine? I'll tell mine too, but like what is important as in part of your routine to give you those pauses and give you that rest that's so very important.
So I could give so many people so many things because I think you're listening. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
give me like we're this again feeds
Yep.
into it. I'm like tools and like give me the things.
Yeah.
Number one is
Mm.
awareness. You have to be self-aware enough to know. You have to go, you know what I need right now is a rainstorm and a book and nothing else. And
Mm-hmm.
I need a coffee and a whatever. I like you need to know those things. Here's the thing. Dr. Sarah knows this. I will talk about this all the time. If I'm going through a super like rough patch or something's off or I need like we're if it's gone this far like it's really bad. I will literally go drive around with the windows down listening to music that I grew up on. That
Yeah.
is my reset because I did that as a kid and
Oh,
it takes me back to that
yeah.
and it gives me a reset. That was I grew up in a really small town, so we didn't have jack to do. But if I could go ride around with my friends and listen to music, I was freaking living my best life. And so, in order to go back there, it's like I go into this like
Mm.
just reset for me, and it's like let me listen to this music. Let me go. Which I say music that I grew up on. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
music that I grew up on. Sometimes I just need a little Chris Stapleton in my life because he just
Because
does something to my brain that it
it's got the
likes.
word so
But it's
good.
the awareness that you have to have of like something's wrong, so I just need to pause and it's like, okay, once we have the awareness, then we need to figure out the pieces and parts for us of like, what does that actually look like for you? And so another like sub-column of awareness is I need you to understand this phrase. You don't have to earn your
Mm-hmm.
rest. Rest is just a requirement that everyone has no matter what.
Yes.
If I barely did anything and still need rest, which was me actually yesterday on Sunday, my wife and I both napped because our kids have been keeping us up and we've had power out and there's trees everywhere. Like it's
Yeah.
a shit storm around
Mm-hmm.
here. But I had so many things on my mind that I was like, these are all the things that I'm going to do because I've been hella diligent with my schedule lately.
Yeah.
But I fell asleep on the couch and was like, I guess I needed that. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just like, normally old me would have beat myself up for that and felt so guilty and had all this. But it's like that's been a big shift for me is I don't have to earn my rest. I don't have to do all this stuff and I worked really hard. Oh, and now I can rest. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with having a day. I love days sometimes where I just worked outside and I did some stuff and it's like that's hella rewarding and I
Yeah.
feel good. But I think we have to have that little mental shift of like have awareness and know that I don't have to earn it in order to have it, to experience it, to go through it. And then I think we need to, with awareness, we need to be in touch enough to go, like I just told you mine very
Yeah.
specifically. If I get to do that, oh man, I'm loving it. Or if my phone goes away and it's outside hanging out with my girls and watching them play, and my wife and I are in our rocking
Yeah.
chairs, like that's
Oh.
we found out about that. We went to Chattanooga, Tennessee for one of our meetings with all of our docs.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to this little train station place that they have. And there's like, we went to this comedy show. It's hilarious. And then we walked out and there were all these bars and like we had a big group of us. So everyone's like hanging out. But I'd flown my wife out to just hang out with us that day. Like she flew out, she was going to hang out with us that day. And then we were flying
Yeah.
back tomorrow. And it was almost like letting your kids run around and play because we're so
Yeah.
used to that. And we went over and we sat in these big black rocking chairs. Like I have a picture of it. It's saved on my favorites on my phone because Sarah saw us and she's like, "Oh, mom and dad talked about it." And for us, we had like this big takeaway moment of like in my future when we have a home and we built like what we want, this exists there because something about this for me, I like it. And it
Mm.
felt like that like old person moment where you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here in a rocking chair, but it was like
That's the
we're
same.
sitting in rocking chairs, we're holding hands, and I was like, there was something about it, and I looked at her and I was like, I could do this for the rest of my
Mm.
life. And there was just something in that that I was like, oh shit, there's something here. So I gave you one, but it's like there's a lot of different whatever those are for
Yeah.
you. You just need to figure out what they are, and then you need to be willing to like, I know and I have awareness, and then I have access to these things, and it's like I'm just gonna do
Yeah.
those. I need a day off. I need a day away from this. I need to be active. Like being physically active for me is on that list. Like it wears my ass out, but I run so high, I need something that wears that
Bring
out.
it
So then
down.
I will relax. Correct. So there's so many things. There's no perfect way. Everyone's perfect way is a little bit different,
Yeah.
but you need to be able to find find those things and then lean into them because it's going to be the most rewarding. And you're probably going to have like, hey, boom, here's the thing. So
No, I love
I'll shut
that.
up now and let you.
No, well, what I love the most about it, one is the releasing of shame.
Mm,
There's so much shame in rest. Partially because we were raised by people who were raised by people who were raised by people who didn't have the luxury to rest, right? Like if you rested, the farm didn't get done, and then your family didn't have food, and then everybody was dead, right? Like that, we're not on the Oregon Trail anymore, people,
nope.
and that is a luxury that we have. That it is very much a luxury that we have. So removing that shame and giving yourself the space to pause and to breathe actually increases your ability to be successful. A lot of people think I have to keep going over and over and over and over and over again to be successful, when in actuality, a quick 15-minute pause, a drive
Mm,
around, we are kindred spirits. And I knew that from the moment I met you. That was mine too. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin and we couldn't do anything, but we had our mixed CDs with every genre under the planet. And so you will find me driving around the now small town that I live in, blasting early 2000s hip hop when I feel like my world is falling apart.
yep.
Like,
And
when I
you're
can't
like,
breathe,
man, she's
it's
having a time. And you're like, no, 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 no. I need this right now as my reset. I'm
healing.
resetting. Yes.
um, but yeah, so it was years ago that I had a mentor who was like, if you don't put pauses, because sometimes too people think like in order to pause or to break, that it has to be a big thing, right? Like it has to be a vacation or has to be a weekend or has to be a whole day. When in actuality, it can be a 5-minute pause, a 15-minute pause, even a 30-minute pause. I actually put in pauses throughout my day where I'm like, you know what, for this 15 minutes to like not really feed an addiction, but just to laugh my ass off because my algorithm knows me. Like I'll just sit on TikTok or I'll just sit on, but it's like that 15 minutes, I'm going to meme myself out so I can
Yeah.
get into the next space, to get into the next headspace. So you can put those pauses throughout your day, but just like you said, we are gigantic toddlers with credit cards. And so we have to have routine. Like we have to, or else we become reckless. And so having those things at the beginning of the day, the way that you start your day, but even at the end of the day too, that pauses you and makes you breathe. I think one of the most important parts about the pause though, and you said it so very eloquently, and I really love, well, you said it without saying it, that inside of your pauses, one, you have to be aware that you need them, or you need to have people around you that are aware that you need them too. People who can call you out on your shit. Like Jim last week was like, oh God, we're going downhill. He's like, the ship is sinking. And so he was able to call me out on my need for a pause. But so you either need to figure it out, or you need to have people around you who can tell you, but you also need to know what brings you that infinite joy that you were describing in like sitting in the rocking chair or listening to the music. You have to understand what things can pull you out from the dead, because usually your pause is what allows you to keep moving forward instead of
Yeah.
plow through the
It's also
train.
going, well, it's also going to remove you from the thing that everyone is debilitated with now, and that is either anxiety and depression. So the best way I've heard this described, and everyone talks about it, and it's like it's almost overused at this point, but I think it's so true. It's like depression is me living in the past based on shit that I can no longer change,
Mm-hmm.
and anxiety is me worrying about shit that hasn't even happened yet and may actually never even happen.
Yeah.
What it does for you and having those pauses or having these moments is it puts me right where I'm at, right where my feet are. One of the
Mm-hmm.
things I really tried to focus on and be super intentional with is being where I'm at. I still have moments where I can plan and think. It's like I don't think there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with reminiscing on beautiful things and reminiscing on stuff or healing something maybe that we're just going through or planning forward and looking towards the future. But if I do it to such a level that it gives me stress and anxiety and I start to breathe a little bit heavier, then I'm like, okay, and I can feel myself and I'm like, you know what? It's like, oh, hold on for a second. And even like you said, it doesn't have to be a lot. If you just paused and did like a little bit of like breath work for just a second, just pause, take a second, it can bring you back down into that. It can re-ground you, it can re-center you, and then that allows you, you have to realize when you do that, you're going to make better choices, you're going to make better decisions. The outcomes of what you're really trying to work to achieve are going to be so much greater because you took that just like a second to just pause, but also you're working to, when you're doing that, remove the anxiety of any of that stuff because the phone for me sometimes I'm like you, which by the way, secret hack, you should just have a playlist that's called funny, and when something's funny as hell
Yeah.
you add it in there,
Mm.
because I've got a playlist of specific ones that like if it really
Yeah.
made me laugh, which by the way I got one, I will send it to you on Instagram, you will laugh. I laughed so hard today, like 4 or 5 times, and it's a behind the scenes of them trying to record a scene in a movie,
Yeah.
and he goes, do that again but make this sound, and he does it, and
Yeah.
it's a fart sound. Farts are
Yeah.
funny in my family,
Right.
we laugh at farts.
Yeah.
And every time he does it, he laughs. So then it's one of these things where
Yep.
I'm not there, I'm not in that moment, but subconsciously I feel like I'm there with him, and I'm like, I'm laughing at this because it is hilarious.
Yeah.
So you can make little playlists of
Ooh.
things of like if you're having a rough time because shitty days happen, and you can
Mm-hmm.
just have something that's like, maybe there's something that can get me out of this funk. And that, I think,
Mm.
side things, I don't even remember where we're going or where I was trying to go. Having the awareness of a shit day or a day that's not going well or something going wrong is good, but be willing to just go, why am I feeling like this?
Mm.
And just sit with it. Because you're probably going to give yourself the answer, and you're probably not going to like it, and you're probably suppressing stuff, and nothing good comes from suppression. It's like a bottle that you're like, no, 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 like you're just trying to hold it back. The Mentos are already in the Diet Coke. It's coming out one way or another. Which way is it
Yep.
coming out? So we just
Mm.
need to figure out what that is. And it doesn't, the thing I try to remove from people, it doesn't make you a Karen to be upset and to be pissed. Just don't take it out on other people. That
Mm-hmm.
makes you a Karen. But
Yeah.
to feel things is human. That's normal.
Mm.
And there's an office that we work with over here, and she shared content, and it was something that I've always like, I haven't expressed it in the way that she did, but she's like, women express sadness through suppressed anger typically, and men express anger through repressed sadness
Sadness.
because they don't want to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were never told that they were supposed, like, you're not supposed to cry. I never saw my dad cry. I'm like, my kids have seen me cry a lot. I cry a
Yeah.
lot. I'm a crier. I've been that way my whole life. I think it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
It sucks sometimes. You're just like, can't I just hold it
Why is
together?
it happening?
But I'm just like, oh, hey, that's a part of being a human, and feeling those things is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100% normal. But we have to be so in tune with that because you're told, society tells you, you're supposed to have motherly energy, never be angry, never be any of this. So women have all this sadness that comes out that, in my experience, tends to be underlying with a lot of anger towards whatever it
Yeah.
is. Men
Mm-hmm.
tend to act out aggressively when there's really a lot of sadness inside of them that they don't want to let out. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard, and I get that, but you got to face it at some
Yeah.
point, or it will eat you up, and it'll take away from you all the things that you love in your life. And there's no one should have to live that way. And your family shouldn't have to experience that. Your spouse, your significant other, the people that you take care of, like, there's so much freedom in just having the awareness of that and being willing to do it, even if it's by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I do challenges all the time where I'm like, hey, we're doing this. Just go somewhere where somebody can't hear you. Scream into a pillow, throw a fit on the bed like you're a toddler. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things that we can do to move energies and feelings in our body without it coming out in this, like, well, I don't want to cry. Then go lay on your bed and throw a fit like you're a baby, and
Yeah.
see if after about 2 to 5 minutes of doing that, you don't just start laughing hysterically for no reason, because we've released that pent up
Mm.
emotion. So now it just comes out.
Yeah. What's so good about that? I think that also too, the need to work so much, or the need to like keep pushing forward, or the through fear, it is the reason why people don't pause. But I think a lot of times too, especially in my case last week, I didn't pause because I didn't want to feel the emotions.
Mm. Which is also okay.
It's okay.
But
Yeah.
if that's our
It,
system, then we're screwed.
then we're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a huge, but that, yeah, I see that. I see a lot of people who will work through trying
Oh,
to
I'm
feel
sure
the
you do.
feelings.
Listening to you
Hmm.
talk about what you did was always like, oh, okay. I like people that are into this type of stuff,
Yeah.
because everyone needs it, but no one wants to do it. So it's like,
Oof. You know what? I'm going to use that as a tagline now. Thank you. Stealing
you're
that.
welcome.
Everyone needs it. No one wants to do it. But it's true. And there is goodness. There's goodness in this work. And there's goodness in learning all of these things about yourself. It's so uncomfortable. But like, as you've probably experienced now that you're working through it, you're like, I can't, like, this is one of the most important aspects that I can give for your future generations, is to like work through this now.
I I think that if someone is having issues in their life, and let's just say for random reasons, specifically with your spouse,
Yeah.
it's because you both have these problems and you're trying to fix each other's rather than fix your own.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
When I remove myself from the responsibility of making you happy, we both get a lot more happy.
Mm. Amen. Amen.
We just do.
We do. We do.
I also think I forget where I saw this, but it's like the marriages that go through the shit are the strongest and typically the best because we've been through stuff that most people can't even imagine. And because of that, it wasn't about this thing or that thing. It was about we have to support and work together. And now we have to be a team and we have to like, we're going to have to do this thing together in order to solve this. And my wife and I mean, I could let her come on here. She'd tell you, she'd probably cry a lot though. We're a crying family if you
We're
can't
crying.
tell.
We're crying family.
But we talk about that now. Like this year for us will be 13 years that we've been married. And it's like in a very short span of time, we've been through a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But in doing that, it has been the most rewarding because look at where we're at now
Mm-hmm.
and look at what we have. And we could look at all the hard stuff and the difficult things and we could just be like, golly, that was awful. Golly, my life is like
Right.
there's such a perspective shift of like how we can focus on it versus just like, wow, I'm so much more resilient. I'm smarter now. I'm more educated. I have better systems. I have better processes. I have better things around this. And I'm more aware of what it is that I potentially need to do in a situation so that I'm not stuck or put in this
Yeah.
again. And then the next time you come against me, you're screwed because guess what? I've done this before, mofo, and now you're in trouble.
Now
So
you're
I'm
in
gonna put
trouble.
on some
I've
2000s
leveled up.
gangster rap, and you're gonna be in trouble, and it's gonna be a dance off.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's the best. I think it is. It's the people who can be resilient through the hard times. Mm-hmm. In all things, in all relationships. Ugh,
Mm,
that's so
big
good.
time.
That's so good. Well, I'm super excited to have you on my podcast
I can't wait.
someday because this is just the Instagram like
Because
we're
life
gonna
happens.
go
Yeah.
because life happens. Shit happens all of the time, and I appreciate your ability to like roll through the punches and to educate people on such a very real way. You're a really great storyteller, and I appreciate that in you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, well, just to be a good steward of our time, it is 7:05, so I'm going to let us all go, but this has been a wonderful episode of This Might Hurt a Little Bit, and it always does, but it always feels so good when it's done hurting. So I appreciate you being here and talking about a pause with us. Bye.
Bye.